Well, good morning, Dawn.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining me. I was hoping just to touch base with you. We don't often see, and hear all of the services that the RDC right here next door to the MNbump, what services you offer to communities, to our businesses. So just want to touch base with you today and see if you could kind of start off by telling us who the RDC is, and then we'll go into some of the services you provide.
Perfect. Thanks, Vicki, for the opportunity. So my name is Dawn Hegland. I'm the Executive Director for the Upper Minnesota Valley Regional Development Commission, a really long name. A lot of people know us by the RDC, or we also are in the state of Minnesota Economic Development District 6W, so some people know us by Region 6W. So the Regional Development Commission is actually a regional government, a local government that was set up in statute in Minnesota in the late 60s. The statute that created us did a couple things. It defined regions across the whole state of Minnesota. The region that we serve is Big Stone County, Swift County, Lacaparo County, Chippewa County, Yellow Medicine County. So that geography is our 5-county region, and the statute laid out different RDCs across the state. So there are 9 RDCs today that cover most of greater Minnesota. So the statute laid out our region. It also defined our board. Now, our board is made up of mostly elected officials from counties, cities, townships, school districts, the tribal government, and we have a few public interest reps that join our board. We have a 22-member board from the entire 5-county area, and we meet monthly. The statute also gave the Regional Development Commission's taxing authorities. So we actually have the ability to tax within the 5 counties to support some of our services. We have a limited amount of tax increase that we can do every year as set in statute, but we do have our own taxing authority. And then lastly, the statute, of course, defined what we're supposed to do. And it's a long, lovely written statute, but basically it says that regional development commissions were put in place to provide technical assistance to local units of government. So we help cities, counties, townships, school districts with all kinds of things, soup to nuts, a variety of different programs and services. And I'm sure we'll talk about a few today.
That sounds great. I would like to start with the revolving loan fund. If you want to just touch on that, that really reaches out to a lot, our business community, and they might not be aware of the resources there. And I know you might have some great things coming down the road, so we'll be interviewing again on in-depth details on those things. But if you want to touch on that first.
Sure. Thanks, Vicki. One of the things we do is we do economic development services throughout the region. As one of the components of that is we have a business lending program called the Revolving Loan Fund. And again, businesses within our 5 counties are eligible. Right now, our loan fund is about $1.7 million. We have, anywhere at any given time between 30 and 40 different open loans throughout the region. It's a gap financing program. So that means that it's intended for businesses that need, when they seek financing, the financing package that might be offered by their local institution might not quite cover all of the needs that they have. And so our revolving loan fund is there to fill that gap. And so we partner with a lot of different financial partners. So it might be the local bank, might be the primary lender, might be a local EDA or a county EDA or organization like the Southwest Initiative Fund. There's lots of other financial partners that we partner together to provide business lending to through all kinds of businesses. And our program is really geared at creating or retaining jobs in the region. That's really a primary focus for the business programs. But we have all sorts of loans and in a variety of loans in each of the counties. Everything from manufacturing to your corner store or a bar grill or a hardware store or a chiropractor. So all sorts of different loans in our portfolio. I think this exciting part is we have just submitted a new application after all of the COVID impact to businesses throughout the country and throughout the world. We had an opportunity to double our revolving loan fund. So we have submitted an application just recently to get an additional $1.7 million of loan funds into our region to help businesses. And we're hoping to hear about that ideally in July, so we're kind of waiting to announce. And then once we get that announcement, we'll be doing a lot of marketing and a lot of outreach throughout the whole region, looking for businesses that were impacted because of COVID and creating some really attractive loan options. They will be loan options. They will not be grant programs, but we're going to make the process as attractive as we can to help businesses maybe recover. Maybe there were some things that they discovered during this COVID crisis where they needed to modify a business practice, or maybe they found a new opportunity. Maybe they're doing more online business because they needed to. So there's lots of different opportunities, I think, for businesses thinking about what their future holds. And that's where we're hoping this revolving loan fund can come in and help. So we're hoping for that good news in the coming month, and we'll be sure to reach out and do some more marketing about that.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Since you've been talking about that a little bit, that's exciting news. The other thing to touch on right in the beginning, I know you have a whole list of things, but talk about how you help our communities.
Sure.
You've been in different of the communities and you've really helped with, that technical support when we're going through plans and programs, our Small Cities Development Grant, so many things there. If you could touch on that and how you help communities.
Sure. Again, I always say we try to do whatever our communities ask us to do. And so we provide a lot of different technical assistance services. We write and develop a lot of plans. It might be a comprehensive plan for a community. It might be a recreation plan for a park. It might be a hazard mitigation plan at the county level. All sorts of different plans, zoning plans, all sorts of planning documents. That's a big part of what we do. We do a ton of grant writing and then administer those funds. Grants have often, fairly rigorous reporting that's required. And there's so many different grant sources out there that all have different rules and regulations. So we kind of call ourselves experts at figuring out those sorts of things. So we write grants for things like historical renovation of buildings. You mentioned small cities development funds. Those are funds that come to the state of Minnesota that are intended to rehab homes, commercial properties. They can also assist with community infrastructure, things like water towers and water sewer kind of infrastructure. Most often in our region, and we're just finished a project actually up in Clinton, Graceville, Beardsley, where there was about $630,000, I think, that was targeted to, and it helped fix up about 25 homes and 6 commercial businesses between those 3 small communities in Bigstown County. We work a lot with the Small Cities program, and it's really one of the best programs to help provide dollars directly to address some of those home, rental property or commercial property rehabilitation needs. And so right now we have 6 different projects scattered throughout the 5 counties. And it's a big part of what we do. And then it's all of the monitoring and the paperwork and the reporting and making sure everything is done correctly. So it's kind of the grant administration side of things. But we do grant writing and administration on all sorts of different things: parks, buildings, infrastructure, broadband. We've done childcare. So lots of different topics, really depending on the needs that are in the community. And I think sometimes trends from year to year, different things kind of bubble up. where there happen to be dollars available to address certain things. So we track that and communicate to cities and counties, school districts and townships, and say, hey, there's this opportunity out there. If you need some help or if you want to learn more, give us a call and we'll be happy to share that information with you. We put a lot of information on our website, www.umvrdc.org. I'm sure you'll have the link on this afterwards, Vicki. Yep. And we send out newsletters and press releases and constant contact blasts. Again, our customers are really geared at the cities and counties, either the elected officials or the staff. So we're constantly communicating with them about, you know, the sorts of opportunities that exist and how we can help or how we can connect them with somebody that can help.
Well, and just to mention on connecting with MNbump, the RDC was a big part of our foundation when the work with Blandon that you did, and you know, all of those types of things really helped with the foundation as we were setting up for, you know, it was all foundational work amongst other agencies through the, but you know, a lot of our beginnings came from the RDC. So it's that technical help and those connections. Yeah.
And I think the collaboration, I think that's another thing that happens naturally in our office, because we cover a regional area and we have 5 different counties that we pay attention to, 37 different cities that we pay attention to. So we're constantly watching what's going on in one place and another. And sometimes we're doing some matchmaking, saying, hey, community, you should talk to this community because they're struggling with the same thing. Yeah. Or we can come in and share an example from not only our region, but somewhere else in the state or even somewhere else in the country. So kind of one of the unique things about what we are able to provide is that kind of that regional perspective, and then kind of that collaborating assistance that we can do by saying, let's get these people together because we're really talking about the same thing. And you know, if we get together and brainstorm like we did around some of that early Blandon work, where we talked about how do we talk about the great things that are happening in our region, the great community assets that we have. How do we tell people about that? How do we market it? And let's work together and do that. And I think, you know, I mean, that's some of the most rewarding work that we do when we get to do that group sort of work. So it's been really fun. And I think we have a couple other regional projects like the Meander Art Crawl that we coordinate.
I was going to bring that up next, but that's a big thing here for Big Stone County.
Yeah.
That Meander.
And so again, I think those are projects where, you know, we've gathered people together and there's been really kind of a nice family that's developed around some of those sorts of collaborative events. You know, we all have good peers and good friends and good networks that we maybe didn't have before.
Yep. No, that's been really great. I'm looking at your website and your long list of things. Is there something else you'd like to bring up next?
Well, you know, maybe one thing, Vicki, I'd maybe just like to highlight, it was an interesting piece of work we did out of our strategic plan this last year, where in last December and last January, we did a survey of elected official and staff from governmental units in the region. And we kind of asked them what was keeping them up at night. You know, what were their biggest issues? What were the biggest needs that they were seeing in their jurisdiction? And what were they really thinking about? And there were about 34 different topics that came up, and we prioritized them. And I think there were 6 things that clearly kind of floated to the top of the list. And 6 because kind of there was a bigger jump in kind of what people identified as critical between that 6 and the 7. That's why there's 6. So it's maybe a strange number, not 5, not 3, not 1, 6. But so the top 6 things that I maybe just like to share, and I've been asking people when I share the list, you know, does anything on the list surprise you? And I'll share the list with you and your viewers, Vicki, and see if it resonates with you. But the number 1 issue that came up in our region was childcare accessibility and affordability. The number 2 issue was workforce recruitment. The number 3 issue was marketing our region to attract residents, workers, families, and visitors. The number 4 issue was improve broadband accessibility. The number 5 issue was road and bridge planning and funding. The number 6 issue was demolition of dilapidated housing and commercial properties. So again, there were a long list of things, 34 different things on the list people prioritized, and these are the 6 things that really clearly floated to the top. And there's nothing on that list that surprises me. Again, we're hearing, we read the local papers, see what's going on. But I was a little surprised that childcare came out as clearly as number 1 as it did. I mean, I know it's an issue. We've been watching it and trying to figure out where we can help, but that was number 1. So that was maybe a little surprising. I knew it would be in the top list, but I wouldn't have predicted that it was number 1. But I don't know, anything on that list surprise you, Vicki? I mean, I'm sure you're watching these same things too.
Nothing on that list, surprises me. Broadband, of course, Big Stone County, we've got that across the county, thanks to some more RDC help on that. You wrote the grant, didn't you?
We did write the grant that helped build out that broadband throughout Big Stone County and in Swift County too.
Yep. Yeah, awesome. But yeah, nothing on there surprises me. That daycare hit number 1, but now with this COVID issues, that's not going to get any better. And looking, we were talking just before we went on here, what is school going to look like this fall, and how's that going to affect people's work and their daycare? And clearly, if it was clearly number 1 in our region, it's not going to be any easier, I don't think, this fall on what people are going to do.
And again, this survey was kind of pre-COVID. It was in December and January. So we intend to survey each year in about that same time frame. So it'll be very interesting to see what the top issues come up this coming December and January, to see if it's shifted at all. But childcare is a tough thing. There's been some really good programs that have come out, and certainly policy things at the state and federal level trying to address that topic. And some funds that have come out recently related to COVID, trying to help those providers address, the issues that they're facing as childcare providers. But it's going to be a tough issue. I'll maybe just reference one of the things that we did is we've completed some childcare case studies from our region. And actually, we have one from Clinton, a childcare facility in Clinton. And we did some case studies because this has been an issue. Childcare availability and affordability in our region has been an issue. And there's been some really interesting models that have popped up where there's been, again, some collaboration between local partners to try to figure out how to address childcare. Some have been a school partnership, some have had partnerships with healthcare facilities. Sometimes it's an individual home-based provider that's doing something different. But there's some really interesting models, and we chose to highlight some of those, and we have those case studies available on our website. So you can certainly take a look at those and see the innovation that's happening here, because people have to try to figure out how to solve this issue.
Yeah, I'll include a direct link to those too. So
perfect.
We can do that. So what else would you like to share with your services and your...
Sure. There's maybe a couple things that are coming up. I know, again, we talked about the meanders. Our office has helped kind of do some organization from the meander for the meander event since it started, and that group of artists and some staff out of our office are trying to figure out what that event is going to look like for this year. Again, people are trying to think about how does COVID affect an event like this. And so they're trying to make plans every day. And I believe they have a meeting this week where they're going to try to decide what it's going to look like. I'm
happy to hear.
One of the options would be to cancel the event. One of the options would be do something all online. So, and then there's lots of variation in between. So, they're trying to figure out how to best carry out an event in a safe and responsible way, and what that means. So, we continue to kind of help support them. We and help kind of facilitate some of that conversation, and so that'll be something that we'll be talking about soon, I am sure, because normally right now we'd be getting ready to print the new brochure, which has not been printed yet because we're trying to decide what this is going to look like. So we're hoping for some news about that particular event, which is a pretty big regional event that we help facilitate in the region.
Yes, that's
I think
very
there's
big.
maybe the other kind of complementary marketing piece that we do to the MNbump is our Western Minnesota Prairie Waters. And again, like MNbump, we try to promote the resources that exist. Here we have membership from some counties and cities to kind of collaborate and do some marketing. And again, I think it's so important to be sharing the stories from our region and showcasing why it's a great place to live, or a great place to start a business. A great place to retire, a great place to have kids and go to school. And so we're doing that work every day too, and always, cross share, of course, with our MNbump and other partners around who are talking about things in Greater Minnesota. So that's another good partnership I think we have with Big Stone County.
Yep. Yes, definitely. There's so many different connections with the RDC, and sometimes it's like people don't know, I'll say something about the RDC and okay, yep, they're in Appleton, but they don't realize so many of the foundational things that we get assistance with come from you, because your services come through our faces, and so I'll just take credit for that. No. But so it's good to get the RDC out here to show who are the faces behind a lot of these things that happen in our communities. So
thank you for that, Vicki. And I think that's true. I think we do take kind of we kind of work in the shadows and work, to support our counties and cities and townships and school districts. So, the work we do is behind the scenes for the work that you do, because you're on the front line. And so, that's just fine. We work in collaborative environment, and again, we're really created to serve local units of government. So again, that's where we try to fulfill the needs and issues that our cities and counties and townships and school districts are talking about. So.
You do a lot of work and discussions with MnDOT and transportation and that type of thing that we all just kind of take for granted. All this work just happens again. So you're quite involved in that, if you want to touch on that at all.
Sure. We've had an ongoing program, a transportation program with MnDOT for decades, and all the RDCs in Minnesota do that work. And so we work very closely with MnDOT and look at the road, bridge, trail, railroad crossings, the funding that happens both from the state level and from the federal level, and kind of our job is to kind of be a local connector, pay attention to what's going on locally. We kind of are that liaison between the local level and the bigger MnDOT districts, which are then partly to the state. And so we do a variety of different things. There's some funding committees that happen in Minnesota that help decide how transportation funding is spent on which projects, and so we have staff that kind of do some technical support for that process. We also, from our board, appoint some of our board members, other elected officials from our region, to sit on those funding committees. And so again, we have a pretty close relationship with MnDOT, and work on a variety of areas. Some of that is money or programs that come from the state or the federal level, where it provides, again, opportunities at the local level. Sometimes it might be a program called Safe Routes to Schools, where we work with schools to do planning, and then there's some money available for them to do things like maybe it's fixing a crosswalk or a sidewalk or some lighting, or address some things to encourage kids to be biking and walking to school. So there's a program like that. We've also worked with a lot of communities on trails and how to connect within their community, or how to connect from a community to another community. And there's some funding that's available to address those sorts of things. Again, that's all part of our transportation work. And sometimes it's planning, helping communities think about what they might want and what they might need, and create a plan. And then sometimes it's grant writing, where we help related to transportation and help local communities access some of those funding sources. So again, I would say our revolving loan fund, our transportation program, our economic development program, our marketing, our regional marketing program, which encompasses things like Western Minnesota Prairie Waters, Minnesota River Valley Scenic Byway, the Meander Art Crawl. Those are all big programs out of our office. And then all of the other kind of services that we do, that I say are individual services for, maybe it's helping the city of Ortonville with one sort of project, and it's helping the city of Benson with another sort of project, and city of Granite Falls with another sort of project. So we have lots of individual contracts that we do every single year with a county or a city to do individual projects. So again, our work is pretty diverse, and it changes every year. And we try to keep on top of it. Things like the survey results I just shared with you. We try to keep on top of what's going on in the region. So, and then we're kind of always doing an environmental scan for how do we bring resources to our region to help our communities with the needs that they're talking about.
Yeah. No, helpful on every level, including just a quick phone call from me saying, well, what do you think? Or what's this? Or where do I find that? Just, those things that you don't even have written down as things you've assisted with, you get calls like that all the time. Or am I the only one?
No.
Okay.
No, again, that's, I always think we're a little bit of an information broker, again, because we have this wide scope of things that we kind of try to pay attention to, or that we might hear about. And so, we get calls every day. I always say, I have the best intentions when I show up in my to-do list every day, but when I actually sit down and get to it, usually at the end of the day, I've had calls or emails or some other thing that I would have never predicted, because somebody's calling and saying, what do you know about this? Or how do I find resources about that? Or, hey, there's this new thing, what do we do about it? So again, that's what we do. We try to be really flexible and again, paying attention to the issues and needs that are unique to our region. Again, our 5 counties and the things that we work on here are different than what the RDC might work on that's in Duluth. There is a different set of issues. Some things are similar, but many things are different than the needs of the region.
No, I definitely appreciate all that you do. And yet you should add info broker to your website on the checklist, because I do think it's a big one. But no, I do appreciate all the help the RDC gives. And hopefully this helps people see that a lot of things happening in the area you have an impact on. And the funds, I'm looking forward to another interview when the other funds come through and the programs are laid out, so that will be exciting. So
absolutely.
Well, thanks for taking the time this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Vicki. And I've enjoyed, over the years, we've worked together on,
we have
all sorts of different things over the years. So I always appreciate those calls or emails or any chance that we get to kind of talk and just brainstorm, because we can cover a wide spectrum of things that are going on in our communities. And like that's what we're passionate about, is trying to help our communities. So I always appreciate meeting other people who are passionate about the work that they do too, to support our local communities. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Dawn. I'll have links put on here, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Vicki.
Bye-bye.
Bye.